Hello, Mr. Ric Roman Waugh. Mrs. Ric Roman Waugh.
Oh, hello.
My wife, Tanya.
Debbie.
Nice to meet you,
you.
Debbie.
Now I'm officially meeting the entire family.
I know.
You know, Dad.
You're in the walk lane.
I am for what, 37 years now
I
or
love
something?
it. Well, thank you for your support.
Oh my God. And you know, I love Shot Caller. This is so amazing. And as a follow-up to Felon, as you know, it's like to the little details that you always bring into every film, you know, from dirt on hands, covering blood, to nuance. But one big thing in this film that really stands out, that I hope people get, is the idea of family and what family means in the prison system, out of the prison system, gangs, this whole idea of family. And of course, this movie is a family affair because you have Scotty doing second unit.
Of course, well, you have to have your family back you, just as we've always done together, you know. And I think that it goes further than that. I try to make movies that represent humanity, humanity in monsters and humanity in the innocent. And I think that's what Prison really reflected for me, is that they're not all demonic, they're not all monsters. That there are people in there that have tripped up and messed up and ended up in the system, and the system has ate them alive, and they're just trying to survive and get back to their families, and also the ramifications, how it affects the families, the structures as well. So I think when you start getting into those type of levels of complexity, you know, it kind of wreaked itself on everybody within the movie. Everybody wanted to know about the prison system, you know, I took Nick into the prison system to see it firsthand, because it's like somebody going to war for the first, you know, or going to war and then trying to tell you how to understand war. Until you've actually been in prison and felt that energy and felt that tension and the heat and the humidity in there, you can't describe it. You have to live it yourself and understand it.
You know, a big part of your films is always your cinematography, and always Dana Gonzalez. And here is no different, because what you and Dana have developed with your visual tonal bandwidth tells its own story. How challenging was it? Because of the fact you're going back and forth, and brilliant editing by Michelle Tessard, by the way. How difficult was it to develop this visual tonal bandwidth that would enhance and help carry the story to a new level?
You know, with Dana Gonzalez, we've been working together for so many years now that it becomes a secondhand nature with us. And so we were able to swing for the fences on this movie. That was our mantra. We're like, we'll live or die by our own sword on this one. And so we went for it. And our whole idea was to create a visceral world where you understand what it is like in prison, where you're not walking around with blinders. You have your head on a swivel. Your eyes are checking out every single detail, where a threat is coming from, who is friend or foe. And we wanted the cameras to represent the same thing. So we shot very wide angle lenses and made it immersive, to where sometimes Nikolai is 2 inches from the camera and you can almost feel his breath on the lens.
What led you to Nikolai? Because when he's on screen, he commands it.
It's just that. First of all, I'm a fan of his work. The guy is a tremendous actor. And I also like what he represents, that he is one of us. You know, he can be the white collar guy, the blue collar guy, that in this obvious case, a banker, that we would relate to, and then we're shocked and surprised that this man is capable of becoming a violent offender. And then we have to kind of question ourselves. He doesn't represent some actors that you're like, of course he became a thug, of course he became a violent guy. I mean, it's built in his DNA. So it was really important to find an actor that you can believe, be plausible, be authentic, but also shocking of, holy smoke, what if then, am I capable of becoming this person?
So I have to ask you, because you did go into the prisons, work in the prisons, and do all of your research, as you always do, how did you separate that from your real life? How did you keep your head in the game of reality?
She's standing right here. My wife, Tanya, you know, making sure she punches me in the head when I come home and shut it off. And it's hard. You know, it's hard that when you get, you know, access into a world that not many people do, and you start to fall in love with the people that are within it, the law enforcement community that that guard these people, the guys that were incarcerated who are trying to do it right, trying to, you know, where you cannot stop but be empathetic to them. maybe not sympathetic. You know, I'm very much of the advocate of that. If you do the crime, you better do the time. Period. This is not a movie about sympathy, but it's trying to create a movie that is empathetic to the humanity of prison, to the law enforcement community that guards our prisons and guards us on the streets. You know, it's kind of time for us to all start understanding that as a country and as a world versus trying to demonize everybody. Understanding the human side first.
And of course, being married to a former stuntman, I assume that when he says you hit him upside the head, you were properly trained in how to do this.
Yes, I have my own training for that.
Congratulations, Ric.
Thanks,
Thank you.